Hey, good morning, everybody. Or good afternoon, depending on where you are. This is Bev Hill with Bev Hill Arts and Crafts, and I'm glad to be here with you today. March is a special month. We celebrate all month long. It is National Craft Month. So give me 1 minute here. I'm going to find myself on this live video on my laptop. It should be coming here any second. And there it is. All right, and that just helps me as we talk away and craft away to keep my hands in the camera. All right. Got a pretty close shot here today so that we can hopefully see what I'm doing with my hands. And give me 1 second here. I'm gonna turn on my little heater. It's kind of that weird time of the year, right? Is it gonna be cold or hot? But I love it. I love that we're coming out of winter. And I love for us that we had a pretty mild winter. I don't know about you guys, but ours was pretty mild. We had a hard 2 weeks and then mild. And I know the West Coast, man, they've gotten slammed the past couple of weeks. All right, so I show that I'm live and I show a pretty good view. So let's get going. So we're gonna have all of the sellers here in this group throughout the entire month. We're going to have little demonstrations. Sometimes they're demonstrations of kits that we're able to sell. Like right now, if I did it right, yeah, I've just put a link if you're interested in this kit, but you don't have to have the kit to have some fun with this demo. So I'm going to show you just some tips and tricks on how I used alcohol ink pens and maybe a few embellishment pens. And finishing touches. So I've got gold pens, I've got glossy accents, I've got these lovely cut apart cards that were designed. This is the art of Lindsay Ostrom, and then these are manufactured by the company Adorn It. So these are printed on watercolor paper, which is really nice. But I'm here to show you today that they color up really nice on using, you don't have to use watercolor every time. You can use alcohol ink markers. You can use colored pencils. One time I did an entire set of these all with just glitter pens, and they were fun too. So I might do one of those today just for the heck of it. So this kit though is for sale, and I've got the link here in comments to purchase it if you're interested. And what it comes with is all the envelopes, which I don't have here, the card bases. I've pre-cut all of these layers of printed papers. So let me bring up each one a little bit closer to the camera. It's really close though. I think you can see pretty darn good. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. I love these. I wish I could have them all. Right now I've got these and the flamingos, and I'll get some more soon. Just love it. So look at this cute little girl. Look at how sweet she is. I think I'm able to save this video later if you want to share it, but it wouldn't get everybody over here to the Purge group where we're going to have so much fun during Craft Month. Look at this one. It's so simple, but yet so elegant. I didn't have to do a lot of coloring. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Well, we're going to color these today with alcohol ink markers. And look I practiced my lettering. I used a ruler and made 2 lines and practiced my lettering. And then I covered up my lettering with glossy accents. All right, so let's get right to it. So here's what I do. If I'm just coloring for the joy of coloring, I can color with every color that I want. But if I'm making a card kit, and if I'm making a card to give to somebody, I want it to kind of have a cohesive feel. So normally what I do is I pick my papers and then I color around those papers to the best of my ability in that color palette. Okay, so that's what I do. So sometimes I don't use a lot of color, but she looks really nice, doesn't she? With just a little bit of navy and kind of a mauvey rose. So everyone gets their own personality then. So for example, with this one, I wouldn't pull in a bright yellow or a purple. I'm going to try to stick with the colors here. All right. And so for this one, I've got lavender and peach. And so I really dealt with just a lavender and peach. And a little bit of gray neutral there was fine. Can you see this one? It had some different greens and golds in here and pale pinks. And again, she's not perfect. I'm not always going to have the exact tone, but it's pretty close. Oh. And then here's the one I kind of led up with. So this one, I did matte this card with this green. And then because I matted with the green, I was had to add some green in there. And here's the place where you can add a third color that doesn't really go with anything. Everybody knows that a flame's going to have a certain color, so our eye goes to that naturally. And the same thing with our pretty cute little hearts here. So I could throw a little darker red there because the eye expects that heart to be red. I mean, it can be pink or purple too, but it kind of blends in then, or it matches, or it lives there well. Does that make sense? All right. So with these patterns in this kit, you get all of the pieces, you get these cut aparts, and then I will save this video. So anyone wanting to try to do the same coloring techniques, you'll have some coloring techniques to work with. All right, let's get going. All right, where's my cute little, here's my girl. We'll start with her. And we'll go as many as we can until 11 or until noon Central Time. And at noon, I've got to stop because my grandson Walter arrives for Walter Wednesday. Lindsay will have to catch up and see what's going on with you. I hope everything goes well with the doctor. All right, so for this one, with alcohol ink pens, it's not real easy to paint the whole background. So I usually just do, can you see how I just outlined with the pen and I let it bleed through a little bit? I'm going to turn it this way, see if the camera catches it a little better. You can kind of see it. And then the same thing with the dots. I let that alcohol ink pen just bleed through a little bit. And just made a bigger dot, and then I put glossy accents on top of that when it was all done. So it's a lot of different layers. I also put a bunch of gold dots to kind of just make it feel like a sparkly birthday celebration. All right, so let's get to coloring. So I love this color. It's a Copic, and I am an equal opportunity colorer, so I'll buy any alcohol marker I can find. This one is called Ice Ocean BG72, and I really like it because it's kind of a neutrally color. So I'm just going to kind of warm up here because I haven't done any coloring. I'm going to watch and see if you can see through my hands. And I don't think I can get any closer on the camera. So this is pretty tiny. I'm leaving a little bit of a spot if I can. Now this is going to bleed a little bit, which is fine. So there is moisture in this alcohol, and then on this watercolor paper, it's going to soak that up, which I think is a nice effect. And as it dries, it's going to lighten up a little bit. Because this is a brush tip, I'm able to just kind of lay it down. And I am no expert in any of this, but I'm kind of an expert. I've been coloring since I was probably 3 years old. There we go. So there's my border around. And this one's even got a different feel than the first one. I cannot color anything the same 2 times in a row. All right, so let me see if I can find a pink that I like. Oh, this is the other thing I do. I've got a little piece of scratch paper here. When in doubt, I'm going to test it on a piece of paper first and just see if I like the color. And see, that goes really nicely in the tone. Might not be the exact pink, but it lines up nicely. So this is what I'm going to use, but not that broad tip. So I'm going to go ahead and color her little leotards, tights. And I come inside the line a little bit because it's going to bleed out. If I want it to stay within the line, I'm going to come inside the line. Now along here, I'm going right along the line because I like that it's kind of giving it a shadow of that color outside the line. So while I've got the pink, I'm going to do as much coloring as I can. Just moving my papers a little bit. Just bear with me. Everything's sticking. There we go. I'll go ahead and do it the same. If I go off and try to get fancy and color it differently today, I'm going to get lost and mess it up. So I'm going to color in sections, and I'm going to come back and color in a circular motion to kind of blend those sections together. Come around and do the outline, like here. And then you saw I did about 3 sections, 1, 2, 3, and I came back in a circular motion. Okay? She's already looking different because these are different pinks. Okay, I'm going to give her some stripes on her hat while I've got the pink in my hand. And I'm also going to throw some dots, just alternating here and there. I might have to come back and add some more. But when I color, I try to color as much as I can with the one in my hand. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and throw a little bit of peach on each one of these little polka dots around the edge. Just going to add a layer of color because we're going to come back with gold pen. That's her dress. So all my pens might be a little different. This is it's got a, what do they call it? I don't know. It's got the broad tip, right? Which they can make a little dot too. And then it's got, this one's got just a fine tip. The first one I was using has a brush tip, more like a, and that's what my granddaughter wants to use. I want the paintable pens. All right, Adeline. All right, let's get another color out. Let's pull some of our greens. And I've got to test this one. This one's an oldie. I think that's the color I want. If not, it's what I'm going with. So I'm going to try to leave my white dots uncolored. So again, I'm going I think with a different green, but in the same tone or family. You see how I'm just kind of working around it. This is a much more fluid pen. It's got a lot more alcohol ink in it. So it's going to bleed more. And I think it's going to end up bleeding into the dots even though I'm staying away. And I can just come back and put a white pen in there. So I just take the very tip along those edges. It's going to finish coloring on its own. Yeah, this is a different feel. Okay. I found by accident the combo of pink and green one time. I was painting something, and it has remained one of my favorite color combos now. I love pink and green together. And Lindsay is doing each quarter, so she does a class each quarter, and it's one class a month for that quarter. So it's March, and she was doing a combo the other day that was purple and green, and my gosh, that was beautiful for the month of March. Can you imagine? Purple and green. It's beautiful. All right, so there's that green. Now, I didn't think this through, but to balance it out, I want to bring this green down with this green. So this is a really gooey pen. It's going to bleed out if I'm not real careful. So I'm just going to come along the center of these white areas of the word, and I'm going to let the pen, the ink, do the rest. Let it kind of bleed out. And I'm going to let the background of the dress be what comes through in the letters. And before I go on to the next color, I want it to dry a little bit. So I think I'm going to go ahead and move to her face and hands, because that's kind of away from everything. So again, I'm going to go in a very circular motion. Just what I do. And just kind of touch her hands there. And now I'm going to find a light pink, the lightest pink I've got. That looks pretty good. And I'm just going to give her a little bit of rosy cheeks over here on the sides. And while that alcohol ink was a little damp, they both blended well together. The other thing I'll do now is color her hair. I think this might be the color. Yeah, and then I'm going to go ahead and give a few strokes where that hair is kind of flying out there. And you kind of see where you've got just a hint of that hair coming out, and I threw a little bit of my pen there. I'm going to see, bear with me here, my arm's going to be in the way. I think I've got this as low as I can, but I can lower my, my arm of the, and if I move it back a little bit, I'm going to get a little closer for us, because this is pretty fine coloring. So bear with me. It takes me a second. Hello, Evelyn. Okay, let's see now if I can just push this back a little bit. Yeah, I think that's better. Sorry about that, guys. I had put the arm down, or the large pole down, but I forgot I could also angle my arm a little closer that's holding my camera. That'll get us a little closer maybe while we're doing the coloring. Okay, where was I? All right, so I was showing you that I took that pen on the hair that's kind of flying away. And really, I don't have to worry about circular motions on this. There she goes. This is her hair kind of going back behind her arms. And again, the alcohol ink in the pen will take over the rest of that. So I actually did use some of this brown as another color on my background. I'm not bringing any new colors into it. I'm just going to use what I've done with the central focal point of the girl. All right, so I think these are dry enough now. I'm going to go ahead and come around my wishes with that really pretty, I love this beautiful color. And then I did do each one of her little dots here. Gotta get the main real estate covered up, and then we can do some pretty detail work. I'm gonna look up and see that I'm in camera. Yep, pretty good. I'm gonna look to you in just a minute. So if you have any questions, something I haven't commented on, put it there and I'll check in just a sec. So I'm just putting a dot of color on those little, kind of those ribbon. That ribbon's got a name. I've gone blank with what kind of ribbon that is. It's adorable ribbon. All that's in my head is eyelet, and it's not eyelet ribbon. So my green in my E had kind of leaked out, and that doesn't bother me at all. I'm just going right over it with the blue, and it'll be a blended color. And that's kind of what life does too, right? It blends. I loved coloring when I was a little girl. I loved it. And a big treat. I mean, think about it. My mom was the mom of 7 kids. We didn't have all of the conveniences then. So she had to, cook dinner and clean up dinner. And then somehow, every once in a while, she would manage to come lay on the floor with me and color. And I would always try to color as pretty as my mom, but I could not do it. She was a beautiful colorer. Hey, Lori, welcome. Nice to see ya. All right, guys, I'm looking up. I don't see any questions, but I'm going to take a second. I'm going to take a sip of my Diet Mountain Dew. All right, and while I've got the blue in hand, I'm going to go ahead and throw a couple of polka dots in blue. Just let that bleed out. And I'm going to hit the party hat too with this blue. So again, I'm just going to go right down the middle and it'll finish coloring it in. Just a little dot up there. And when they kind of bleed together, it's pretty. I like it. And if it leaves a white spot, it's just a highlight spot for me. I don't sweat that out either. She's starting to have a little personality, isn't she? All right, I think I'm going to use the same brown as her hair down on her shoes. So I'm going to pull this card up a little higher. And remember, you can turn the paper. You don't have to turn your hands in weird angles to get to the coloring that you'd like. Because these are brown shoes, they would have, for me, brown ties. So I'm just going to put a little bit of this brown right on top of the laces here. All right. So now I'm going to pick the other green. This is a brighter green. And I'm going to color in birthday, the whole thing. I'm even going to color in my fringe. I'm going to color along that string that's holding this pretty birthday banner up. So again, don't be afraid to let them bleed out a little bit. Same thing, it's going to hopefully can bleed out onto the shirt and blend it all in. So even though it's green on green, I'm still going to color that line. And your eye's going to see kind of where that alcohol ink pen went. It gives it a more finished feel. Oh, and I've had enough of my heater. Got to stop that. All right, so we're getting there. She's about done. Now I've got this brighter green, so I'm going to come around and fill in a few more dots. And now I'm going to go ahead and find my other dots that didn't get any color and just finish them with the pen I have in hand. And it still looks like a nice little splattering of the party feel. All right, so we're getting there. She's looking pretty cute. I need to find my pink again because I didn't do the little fringe on her hat. So I'm going to throw some pink in there. And again, I don't mind if a little bit of it goes outside the edges. Kind of like a little happy glow. Oh, and the top of the hat. Got to do that. All right. Let's see if I've missed anything. Just kind of looking it over. All right, now it's time for our finishing touches, and it should be pretty dry because alcohol ink dries pretty fast. So, let's see what I can find here. Oh, here. I've got some colored pencils. I'm going to find kind of a mauve-y one. I'm going to take, first I'm going to double check my color. Yep, that's nice. And I'm just going to put a few lines sporadically here across my background just to help give it a little bit of color and not so stark white through the whole thing. So it could be fancy wallpaper. So if you're joining a little late, I led with a link up above in comments where if you're interested in this card kit, it's available right now. There's a link to purchase it, and I'll get it shipped off to you. Yeah, all right, so now she's got that little background. Doesn't that help fill it in? And let's see what other, I don't have a lot of colors here. I wonder if this little rosy color. So again, when in doubt, yeah, I think that'll work fine. So now I'm going to come with a colored pencil kind of along this bottom edge and fill in my little border between the skirt colors, the pink and the wishes. And I'm going to go ahead too and take this same pencil and I'm going to go along these black lines just to give it a little bit of depth. See how that does that? All right, so now I love a good gold pen. And I've got a couple around the house. I don't know which one I grabbed this morning. Took it a second to hear it rattle and roll there. Okay, this is a pretty wide pen, but it's a good one. So I'm just going to hit gold now at the edge. Make sure I've got good shiny going. Yep, ooh, pretty. So even though this is a chisel end, I'm just using the tip or the corner of it to get a round finish. And just hitting each one of these little circles along my border. Just think, Lindsay thinks to draw all of this. Isn't that amazing? Somebody's got to think of it. So I'm being careful as I turn, but I think that gold should be dry, the one that I began with. Okay, so now And I might stop here. I'll do a few of them, but I'm just going to throw a bunch of gold like it's a sparkly happy birthday time. So no particular pattern. Just come along the edge. And can you see how that's just giving it a kind of a celebration feel? Oh, and I'm going to have to refresh because my laptop froze up. And I need to make sure that I'm getting this close to the camera for you. Whoopsie. Wait to see. All right, I think I'm live again. All right, so let's try to get this in the camera. You get a pretty good idea. Isn't that so fun? I might be a little too close there. Remember too, when you're teaching a live class, from when I take an action to when you see it immediately, but it takes me a couple of minutes to go from where I see it on my camera on my phone to where I'm watching to see what the camera is showing you on my laptop. Okay, I'm going to lay it down. And then the other thing I'm going to do, and this, then it's just going to be kind of creativity at the time. So I might not do the same exact things as I did the first time. Throw a few gold sparkles here on the birthday banner. And that's probably going to be about it. So this is when I add some glossy accents. And I'll do a few here so I can get my glossy accent going. Make sure you want to work before we get going here. Okay, so I would just kind of follow along on those lines, not exact, just sporadic. And I would throw some on these dots. And then I also would kind of zhuzh up her party hat. I would hit some on her little dots on her dress. And that might be it. All right, so now I'm going to finish up here with some black and white pens because they are my finishers. I've got this really pretty, I hope I grabbed the right one. Nope, it's just a plain old black. Jelly Roll also makes what they call a glazed black, and so it's going to give kind of a raised feel to it, which is really fun. But just a little black is fine too. And then along here, I'm just going to make a few bolder black dots. You can never have too many dots. That might be it. I don't need a lot. There's already a lot of black going on. Where'd my white go? Here we go. So I think the other day someone was talking about trying a new pen, a white pen, and I think it's Molotow. But so far, and I think I've tried Molotow in the past, so far the Poscas have worked. This is a brand new Posca. I didn't realize I grabbed a new one, so I've got to get the ink going down through the nib. There it is. So I think a white pen just adds so much, like just a few dots there. I'm going to take, there we go. And then maybe just at the corners of these letters, just to give them a little highlight. So that your eye is drawn to see that word. So it says birthday up here. So I didn't do this on the last one, but on here I'm going to add some white along the letters so your eye sees the word birthday. And then birthday wishes. So they're both a little different. She's more green. But if you layer on top here, she's going to blend in nicely with the other colors of the papers. Kind of get the idea? All right, so I've got about 25 minutes. I can work on another one a little bit. I'll finish my gold dots around this one a little later. All right, so let's do something that doesn't seem very detailed, but you can add a lot of detail to it. So I'm gonna grab this one here. Happy birthday to you. And let's just start in, and we'll start coloring some of this cake. And I think I can go a little lighter. If I leave a little white, it's going to add a highlight for me. And with a pretty chunky bold color, it's kind of nice to add a little bit of highlight there. It doesn't look like I didn't finish it, it just looks like a highlight. Okay, leave that just like that. And I'm coloring over the line here. And then when I make my card, I'm going to trim this right up to the very edge so it looks a little bit more centered. I mean, it's certainly meant to be like this, off-centered, because the cake and the stand is what's filling up the difference there. All right, I like this color of purple, so I'm going to go ahead and just outline with a pretty broad stroke so that I get a lot of that purple outside the lines. And if I think of, you know, to myself that I'm writing this, I think it helps my strokes with the colored pen go a little easier. And you could color these with different colors. It's just what I chose to do this time. Okay, happy birthday to you. And then I've got this peachy color, which goes well with the peach. Oh my gosh, this has moved way. I've moved way away from the camera. I think that's what you do when you start coloring, right? You keep pulling it closer to you. I think you could see most of what I was doing. It just wasn't quite the artistic display. All right, so I'm just throwing peachy in here. Isn't it amazing just a few colors, what that does? Okay, and I do think, yeah, I've got this really fun. This is a Lyra Color Giant, and this is a metallic, a really large pencil. I love these. And I'm going to add this kind of metallic purple to my background. Later this month, I'll do a demonstration with different cards. They're going to be flamingos. And we'll do watercoloring on our little color focal points with finishing touches. And Then later on, I'll do a demonstration on a technique that a friend of mine, she lived in Wisconsin, and I think it was really big in Wisconsin, where we blend colored pencils with a mineral spirit called Gamsol. And I haven't played with that in a while, minus the demo for the picture that I just did the other day. I'm trying not to make rows, but to kind of stagger. And sometimes I make rows. And this one looks a little thin compared to the others. All right, so doesn't that add a lot there? Just putting a little green dashes in the background. Hello, Julie. Yeah, glossy really just kind of puts the icing on the cake, so to speak. I'm just taking a minute and looking up, taking another little sip. And for these, the finishing touches are nice. I really find for my level of watercoloring, I really need some, I've got glitter pens. These are just basic cheapo glitter pens. And I've got, of course, white and black and gold and glossy accents. I even will dig out some, I've got some Tailored Expressions or Lawn Fawn. I've got that liquid that's got the sparkle in it. So I always feel like it needs a little zhuzhen up after I've done my watercoloring. All right, I'm going to come in with a darker purple, I believe. Let me see what this is. Oh yeah, that's much darker. And I'm going to come to that bottom of that cake. And I'm coming away from that piping of the icing, and it'll just bleed up into it. I'll put just a dot right there. Otherwise, it'll just be a big pile of mush. And I thought I had a gray, but I don't see a gray. So, whoop, this might be it. It says cool gray. So I'm going to try to do my little plate, the stand that the cake is on. I'll come down here. I do not mind if I go outside the lines. Helps with shadowing. There we go. And then I actually colored with this color, which is a weird color. I think I was experimenting. Let me go to that mauve-y pink that I had the first one. Can I find that? Let's try this guy. Because that other color was just way too dark. So this has kind of that peachy tone to it. Right? And now I'm to my flame. So I'm going to put a little of that mauve down here, and then I've got a yellow. And remember I was saying we don't bring other colors into it if it's not in your paper, except when your mind expects it, and it expects that yellow or orange from the flame. So there's my candle. And then I'm going to do some finishing touches here. So I'm going to find my gold. I wish I knew where my fine tip gold was. Is this a fine tip? Nope, they're both chisel, but this is a little smaller chisel. This one really has a strong smell to it. This one is a deco color. All right, it's getting gold. So again, I'm going to put lots of gold dots to give it a birthday celebration feel, even around my base of each layer of my cake. I did it kind of at the points of the piping. I think that's what you call that. So if you mess something up, remember you can always dress it up with gold or white pens. I even outlined these in my gold. So, and I hit gold around all of my lettering. if you had a round tip pen instead of a chisel tip, it would be a little easier for you, Beverly. So it just brightens everything up. If you feel like you had a little too much purple someplace, you can calm it down. And then I would go around each of these little dots that I've colored in peach and add a few. And then I would come around my outside too, because just because the lines are there doesn't mean it has to end. Whoops. So I hope you had some fun today. We got 2 of them done, mostly done. But when you're not listening to me talk and you just color, you can get into a really nice, happy, calm space. And I think that's good for us. And I hope, maybe, again, just a few crafty tips, because I've made every mistake. And then I've learned how to fix them. And then let it dry. Sometimes if you think you don't like it, if you step away and let everything kind of settle in and dry, you'll like it when it's all done. Okay, I'm gonna wrap this one up with some glossy accents. Hello, Jackie, welcome. I bought a new glossy accents too. I just don't know where I put it. This one's getting down there. So again, I'm going to hit these dots because that's an easy place to add a little bit of zhuzhing up. And I could pick out a different, so if you're joining late, what I said in the beginning is that I pick my papers. If I'm going to put this on an actual card, I'm going to grab my paper colors first, and then I'm going to color my focal point. And that could be one of these cute cut-aparts by Lindsay that is made by Adorn It, or it could be any stamped image that you've done. And I'm going to color my image as close to some of the colors that are in the papers I'm using to make my card, or that's in my layout, or wherever it happens to be. Right? I'm not going to mess with my lettering. So that might be just about it for me there. And then I would come back and see if it needs any white. So it's just layers and sets, right? So there's a few tips for you in using alcohol markers, which I love them. And let's see. I'm looking for my white pen. Well, this isn't the best white pen. This is a Uniball. Let's see if it's working. Yeah, it's working pretty good. So I could come in here where this piping is and give that a little white. Just to make it stand out a little bit more. Yes, Jackie, I did that too. I used to do that too. So I picked my paper first. This isn't making a really cute dot, so I might not keep going with that. I have to find, there, it's better. If I pull my papers and then color around that, if you just throw a few white dots around things, it's going to brighten, wherever it is, it's going to brighten it up a little bit. And if you're just joining, I do have this in an actual kit. And I'll show videos on all 4. It makes 4 cards. And I know that we won't have the same pens, me and you guys at home, but we can usually find stuff that's pretty close. Or we're all crafters. We can say, if she did it in purple, I'll do it in blue, or, you know, I mean, still make it go with the papers, but. Or you can just get the kit if you like it and color it in your own way. All right. Well, thank you for joining me today. Happy March Craft Month. I will be back here. I think I'm going to do something every Wednesday at 11 Central and every Thursday, I think 6 o'clock Central PM, 6 p.m. And a variety of things. So keep an eye out. This is for sale. The link is there. I might put it again in comments just so later on if you want to see it. Let's see if it's still in my, yeah. All right. Have a great rest of your day. And I will see you tomorrow evening. And keep an eye out. There's lots more demos to come. Bye-bye.